human is going to become a star nation again. Human, during the last ice age, started over again. Our ancient technology is very old. And our human development is very young. We are very much adolescents. We have resided on planet Earth for a very long time. And we have came and went. Our human species has evolved and has gone backward. Meaning, these catastrophes on planet Earth are not due to human undertaking. They're due to planetary shifts. These planetary shifts can be seeming aggressive, but it's simply the way of Earth balancing itself out. Earth is an adolescent planet, but it is maturing. Earth is young, but it has been around the block. Earth has experienced 3 major catastrophes in human history. And human has witnessed these 3 major catastrophes on planet Earth. Now, before that, we were residing on Mars, long before planet Earth was habitable. Mars was our home, place in which we resided, the place in which human code was first introduced to this planetary system. Our human code was engineered by star nations beyond our solar system. And our planet was in collaboration with many, many star nations. Our planet is known as a treaty of interstellar peace. Our planet is a planet that is protected by this intergalactic interstellar treaty of peace. And that is agendas towards planet Earth and Mars and our solar system is for the benefit of planet Earth and for the solar system and the good nature and the well-being of its inhabitants. All inhabitants of planet Earth and of the solar system are to be treated in good nature. Now, as we know with great treaties, even on planet Earth, a lot of treaties are not obeyed, right? But there is always justice. There is always discernment. And there is always a higher council that brings about necessary reform and necessary adjustment and necessary balance of the scales. So we know on planet Earth there has been treaties among many, many treaties in many regions on planet Earth throughout time. And these treaties, a lot of them have been broken, a lot of them have been falsified. But the premise to all treaties is that all agendas are to support the good nature of planet Earth and its sistering planets, such as Mars long ago was our primary planet and Earth was our secondary planet. Now it is reversed. Mars is going to become our secondary planet and Earth is our primary planet. It's interesting. But this is time. This is time in a big view. See, on planet Earth, time goes by much slower than it does in space. You ask an astronaut who has traveled through space, and has gone through hypersleep understands how fast time is. There is velocity, there is quantum leap, there is great momentum to time when we get outside of our planetary grid, outside of the planet's auras, when time is expedited and when time is a quantum leap. Quantum leap, past, present, and future. Now, we as a human species are being reintroduced to our star nation that we already have been. It's just during these catastrophes, we had either hibernated deep in Earth, or we have left Earth and had resided on sister nations. And when I mean sister nations, I mean like Pleiades and Orion, sister star nations that are very much in constant communication as well as constant support, and that we actually share a higher council that is international, beyond international, interstellar council. And there are benevolent beings such as Pleiades and Orions, and among many who are part of this higher council that must obey the treaty of peace, right? But as all treaties on planet Earth very much reflect the Star Wars we have experienced when it comes to the justice, the discernment, and the balance of the scales on planet Earth. Planet Earth is very interesting because free will is infinite. Human is capable of what it decides. So if it decides prosperity and abundance, that is available, right? Given good energy, good effort, determination, these things we know very much. It's also free will when it comes to choices of destructive nature. It can be played out. But again, the good nature of planet Earth must be. So, in our decision to invite a nuclear warfare into our planet, the reason why it was deconstructed with the influence of these off-planet council members beyond any sort of government belonging to any nation is because the nuclear warfare would create immense disruption, interference with the ecosystem as well as the equilibrium of planet Earth. It could be damage planet Earth. And that's why this nuclear warfare was very much banned. It was prohibited. And we as human species have gone through many forms of destruction against each other and against our own ecosystem when it comes to other species on this planet Earth. But still, we as a human species, in our higher incarnation, our higher destiny, we are to preserve and cherish our planet Earth and our sister planets that are off-world and also off solar system, meaning there are human species. The human species also residing in sister nations on other planets, but those who have decided to incarnate on planet Earth are very much way showers, are very much channelers, are very much guides, and very much protectors. Messengers, we can say, male men and male women who have incarnated in order to channel a message, who have a heightened psychic ability that they have developed through much time, on world and off world. There are beings who have a supreme psychic ability, and they're able to connect with this Asachik Accord and the Sachik Record, this massive database, and they pull from that in order to help facilitate the evolution as well as the quantum leap of human intelligence when it comes to one era to the next. There's always a major quantum leap, and we are crossing through a major quantum leap, and that is our technology. When it comes to Steve Jobs, when it comes to Nikola Tesla, those are all individuals that are part of this threshold. And you and I, listening to this, are crossing through this threshold right now as we speak. And this threshold of quantum leap, a lot of souls decide to incarnate in because you get expedited growth. The time now is very fast. right? The time in other eras on planet Earth is a lot slower. But during these thresholds we call the change of one age into another is vast. There's a major quantum leap, and time is very fast, and the capability for spiritual growth and for spiritual evolution in the physical incarnation, the physical grid on planet Earth is tremendous. So many souls would like to be incarnated at this time on planet Earth because a simple meditation can bring about quantum leaps of spiritual healing, spiritual cleansing, and as well as quantum leaps in one's ability to evolve and to creatively grow. So a lot of souls are wanting to tap into this grid point that's being activated right now by light workers and by our, we can say, intergalactic community as a setup. It's preparing us for the next frontier, which, as we can already sense, is involving being a star nation. Now, we are not there yet. We have the imagination, we have the visualization, and we have the capability to hold it in our dream space, right? But to manifest it into the physical form, to actually create it, it will take time, and it will not be overnight, right? We've experienced immense quantum leaps when it comes to our technology thus far, when it comes to rockets and other sort of engineering, because of our secret collaboration with these off-world council members that are here to help us, that would like us to be a star nation. Many of these off-world civilizations would like us to be a part of a star nation because we are very valuable, right? We're very, very, we have a lot of potential creatively. We're very, very creatively prolific in our imagination. And it's more so off-world beings are interested in our imagination, not so much our technology, because when we see these other off-world civilizations, a lot of them are we considered supreme in their technology. It's more so our creative level. We are very creative and very fertile when it comes to our imagination. And that is, when it comes to, we can say, the realm of space, to be able to cultivate into infinite creative level is actually a lot more valuable than just having the engineering capability to have all this technology. So we're very fertile with this. And when it comes to planet Earth, it is also considered a sanctuary world or solar system, and it's also considered a sovereign planet Earth. That has been agreed in the Interstellar Council a long time ago. We're talking about 30, 40,000, almost 100,000 years ago. Now, in our documented history, we can only go back so far when it comes to the patriarchal perspective, what we see in our textbooks, where we were basically cavemen about 100,000 years ago, right? And then we kind of jump to we are all of a sudden having fire, and then so on and so forth. We definitely do go through these periods of where when we are off-world during these catastrophes and we return back, it is very much like we're starting over. And a lot of the beings who really jumpstart, we can say literally jumpstarting the evolution of humankind when it comes to creativity, is usually these messengers. And in the indigenous populations, these messengers are seen as star beings or star gods or, goddesses, star goddesses. They're usually associated with an off-world being. But a lot of these beings are considered in indigenous language shamans. A star being is very much a shaman in the way that a shaman has a high in psychic and intuitive ability, visionary ability, vision meaning to visualize, large imagination, large creative capacity, and they're able to cultivate this higher level of creativity in order to bring about reform and to literally jumpstart like a car, jumpstart the human integration again. So we have resided underground during, for example, an ice age, and before that, right? Again, time. I'm looking at time in 100,000 years. I'm not looking at time in like 5,000 years or 10,000 years. I'm looking at like 100,000 year span. And during a time when we talk about the Earth sort of axis shift, and as well as the great cloud above Earth. In the Earth's atmosphere, like carbon dioxide I'm seeing from a massive volcano eruption long time ago, due to some triggering of the planet. We can see that as like a meteor or something triggering this major sort of emission of like carbon dioxide in the atmosphere of some form. Also, yes, like sulfur, I'm also seeing that as well, hearing that word. We were off-world, right? That the pollution was too much, so we had to leave off-world. And before that on Mars, we were very much as we were on this planet Earth. Mars was very much an inhabited planet. It had seasons such as we have, and it's considered the sister planet, the twin of Earth, we'll say. It was considered the twin of planet Earth, and Earth and Mars were very much considered mirrors of each other, we'll say. They were mirrors. And even today, we're drawn to Mars because we already know that it's going to become our secondary planet eventually in many years to come. And the inhabiting colonization, as well as the sort of regeneration of Mars, we'll say, will be in assistance with these star nations when that time comes. But these quantum leaps for human intelligence is very much supported by what we call these shamans. Or again, indigenous people call them star gods or star beings, or they're called the future versions of human, right? Almost like they're talking to their future version of their self, which shamans are able to, what we know as interdimensional travelers. So shamans are very much able to connect with future versions of themselves. And also like other dimensions of themselves, and able to channel these sort of streams of consciousness in the form of story, because storytelling for, you can say, an indigenous population was the best way of conveying information. There was no sort of mathematical database that we had except oral tradition and storytelling. And this was our way to jumpstart, right, through this oral tradition that was passed down from, you could say, shaman to shaman, and continued to expand, right? Beings who were able to connect with the Akashic record of planet Earth. They weren't necessarily able to document it because human intelligence was very primal due to you can say, the planet Earth, basically the Great Flood. And that can mean many sort of what we call catastrophes, but just like a great flood where the earth is sort of blanketed and everything is sort of removed for a time being, and then earth kind of jiggles back into a rhythm, and then people can come out again. So in that sort of coming out again, like coming out of the cave or coming back to earth during this, you could say it could even be like 100 years of this period and coming back, earth is completely different, and you have to really reintegrate these teachings. And how they did it was through the shamans, these higher beings. A lot of them are star beings in the way that they have studied the earth, right, in this particular solar system, as very much a protector, as a guide, as a teacher, off-world, even on-world as well. So they come back and they very much help to facilitate these sort of quantum leaps and these sort of jump-starting human sort of creative mission, right? Creative destiny again. So it's quite interesting. But us as planet Earth, and the human species especially, is being jump-started again when it comes to our technology. We have reached the point in our human sort of our human maturity, especially coming out of that patriarchal age, that we're ready to be technology to be reintroduced to the human. But we've already experienced this technology in the Lemurian, the Atlantean, the Kemet Egyptian time, and even on other sort of planet regions of like China and Russia, and what we know is India, when it comes to the Vedic tradition. That's very much from a period of high technology. So again, many regions on this planet, when it comes to South America, North America, there's all kinds of technologies that are associated usually with cosmology, astrology, map making, when it comes to the constellations and their connections to planet Earth, and the solstices and all of that. High points on planet Earth, like high energy points, grid points, ley lines, all of that. We have experienced this technology before, and it's a lot more advanced than what we know as right now, but we're just starting to get the basics, right? We're in the basics, like literally like first grade, not even first grade, like pre-kindergarten when it comes to our technology. Now we will be making star maps, and we will be making, cosmology maps, astrological sort of maps. We'll definitely be getting into even these sort of Vedic traditions when it comes to healing modalities, when it comes to doctors that are more associated with healing doctors, like ancient doctors that we see in the form of chiropractors and medicine women and medicine people, right? That's considered in our time as like witches or, woo-woo or just weird, but it was very much like a high technology of understanding on the physical body. The patriarchal age, the understanding of the physical body was very vague, and we had we did have the piece, but we were missing a bigger picture when it comes to the physical body and the energy. The patriarchal view on medicine, it's very physical, but it doesn't understand the energy, the energetics of the physical body, right? The mind, right? The mind wave, the actual energetic field of the mind, the energy. The patriarchal, it doesn't understand that the actual energy centers, the energy regarding your physical body, because you're not just flesh, you also have energy circuits, just like energy regarding a Nikola Tesla, energy that you can harness, right? And even energy we call about the Stonehenge, like power areas that are very high charged with energy, that even give off emissions of like a lot of orbs. That just simply means the air is charged. Just like when you do these recitations of mantra that are higher vibrational energy, you basically charge your body and you charge your energy space, right? You become more radiant. And the patriarchal, you can say, medicine does not even look at that. It doesn't look at even the biophotons of a physical person, of the actual energy of a person, right? So we're missing a bigger picture that we are going to understand as we begin to really study the mind and the energy of the mind when it comes to the subconscious and the unconscious and the conscious and the many, many layers to the mind. So this is something that's going to be thousands of years. This is what the Aquarian age is about. The Aquarian age is like kindergarten when it comes to our technology. Now, the purpose of this Aquarian age is also to help us to really get back, become credible when it comes to our technology, and when it just comes to our leadership, right? A lot of people are not credible when it comes to leadership, meaning they're, we know this, right? The charlatans of the world unite, right? So there's going to be a lot of reform when it comes to leadership on this planet, and that's what the Aquarian age is about. It's about reform and leadership. As a lot of the patriarchal lineages are going to be removed, slowly and surely, not overnight, because that's a big one. And there's a lot of resistance and a lot of sort of, dilemma around that. But these patriarchal lineages that are so heavily integrated in all regions around this planet Earth, they're going to be slowly removed, and there's going to be reform and leadership, because we need credible leaders when it comes to the Aquarian age. Leaders who are more well-rounded and who have more of a balance between the patriarchal time and the matriarchal time, because they are in collaboration, but they are different. They are different. And that's why there's this division we can see from patriarchal time, right? History and the view of history and the patriarchal lens is very different from like the matriarchal lens in history. It's very different. So it's very divided. So leadership, credible leadership in the Aquarian age is going to be about individuals who are well-rounded and balanced when it comes to patriarchal history and matriarchal history. But again, there's going to continue to be resistance around that, because those lineages have, they're comfortable with, they're used to having their control, right? So they're going to have to evolve, and they're going to have to reform their lineage, or they're going to, again, with every sort of major quantum leap, there's always a new form of leadership. That's just how it is. And the last major quantum leap, when it came to the two ages, the cusps that we're in, Piscean and Aquarian age, it wasn't for a very long time ago, and that was very much before the patriarchal age, about, we can say, 5,500 years to about 12,000 years, when this major sort of quantum leap happened when it came to the fall of the matriarch and the rise of the patriarch during what we know as pre-dynastic Egypt, and the whole sort of rewriting of history that took place in Egypt. A lot of history was rewritten, and a lot of old matriarchal history was demolished, or it was changed. It was altered tremendously, and then the story of the matriarch was diluted with the patriarchal story, and then it was forgotten and it was erased. So what's going to happen is that leadership in all forms is going to be reformed, and it's going to feel like we're having a revolution in many places around this world, because there's going to be much resistance with it, of course, but in the long view, it is going to happen, because it has to, right? It's not a matter of fact of, oh, do you want it to happen or not, right? They will pull your teeth, right? That whole, I will pull your teeth until, right? The stubbornness in the bigger picture, it won't stand, because this is part of natural rhythm for human species. This is nothing like, this is a part of it. And with the patriarchal removal in leadership positions, we're also going to see discrimination dissolve. We're going to see hierarchical repression dissolve. And we're also going to see the withholding of you can say, of resources and of innovation. That's going to be also dissolved, because this new, we could say, Aquarian leadership that's going to be reintegrated to help with the transition into technology, the kindergarten level of technology. These people, it's going to be focused more so on being credible. Also, when it comes to innovation, when it comes to the dissolving of these hierarchical, repression that we have, and it's also going to be the dissolval of discrimination, which brings about immense division and immense friction that causes a lot of agitation when it comes to our global community. And that will require a totally different approach when it comes to relating to other nations, when it comes to also relating to the people, and overall relating to the planet as a whole. It's going to be a completely different view, almost a completely different paradigm of thought than the patriarchal lineage. The patriarchal lineage, meaning the medieval Romanesque Roman. As you even look at architecture of DC, you can trace all of that back to a lot of Roman architecture, and as well as you can even connect it to what we know as Egyptian, patriarchal Egyptian. So very, very interesting, right? So we're not going to be obliterating, we're going to be deconstructing the patriarchal medieval Romanesque Roman sort of lineage, but we're going to be inclusive of it, but we're going to be also bringing in a new view as well, because we have to, because our planet naturally, discrimination is dissolving, right? Also, the hierarchical repression is also dissolving, because people are breaking through. They're breaking through their class. They're breaking through the restrictions and limitations. They're breaking through because they're beginning to understand the energy, right? The physical body, the mind, the spirit, there's energy, and people are understanding the energy. They're learning the energy. They're becoming masterful of the energy. They understand The energy is how they're able to cultivate enough energy to create breakthrough. So people are literally discrimination is dissolving, right? As we become more ambiguous culturally, spiritually, religiously, even economically, when it comes to even currency, internationally, is going to be creating, right, dissolving a lot of heavy discrimination, as well as the withholding of innovation, of technology, basically, is going to it's going to be, what is the word, it's going to be surveillanced, but it's not going to be surveillanced the way it is now. There's not going to be full disclosure, because human is far able to handle that level of technology being revealed at once. Human is very, very unstable as it stands when it comes to this quantum leap. Human is like going crazy, like what's going on? But it's going to be surveillance, and it's not going to be just hoarded for the elite, right? It's going to be distributed among nations, but into a higher class, like government, higher class, not to the general populace, but accessible to the individuals who are responsible for the land and the whole sort of structure of the people. So this is kind of leadership for the Aquarian age, and moving forward when we get into the Capricorn age, 5,000 years in the future, right? Not anytime soon. Capricorn age is when we're going to start to see the technology, the learning of energy that Nikola Tesla basically gave us the blueprint for. He gave us basically the Bible to what energy, when it comes to the form of technology. He gave us the Bible, the whole entire basically blueprint for energy when it came to energy regarding like Stone Age and pyramids and these sort of technologies that are very ancient but very advanced. So we are going to be using that, and once we understand energy, which will take a long time, we still have a lot of resistance and a lot of that patriarchal lineage that we really have to battle out, because it's not going to go away easily. There's going to be a lot of resistance with that, right? Even possibly civil wars and all these kinds of things. But eventually, 1,000 years, the Capricorn age is marking when we're going to start to see major transformations in our actual structures, like our actual when it comes to the whole design of roadways, bridges, buildings, you name it. Everything that has to do with like our practical living is going to be completely renovated and completely remodeled. When it comes to transportation, we're going to have extremely different transportation, extremely different design for architectural buildings and skyscrapers and cities and towns and vehicles. It's going to be very, very different in 5,000 years from now in the Capricorn age. Also with the again, this is just a part of, right, the evolution of human. So with the human state right now, we are going through a threshold. So time is very fast. There's velocity, there's quantum leap, there's a momentum to it. And this is very precious time, because you can experience a tremendous spiritual growth at this time. Think of it, this time, even within the last 1,000 years, we can say there has been major sort of quantum leaps. And when it comes to jogging our memory back, to this ancient knowledge regarding the stars and star maps and energy and medicine and all these things, we're really starting to really study these ancient arts that have been given to us by Lemuria, by Atlantis. And this is like Lemuria was an actual continent that was on a different sort of planetary axis. That axis was a different grid point than there is today. Lemuria is considered an Antarctica right now. Can you imagine? Lemuria was it was seasonal, but it was preferably warm, sort of place. It was more so what we would consider in the southern hemisphere, in our sort of knowledge of our access, but it's actually now considered Antarctica, which is very interesting. But this continent was very large, very, very large, kind of like North America, we can say, and probably maybe a little bit smaller. And it was a matriarchal, during a beautiful time of heavy matriarchal influence on planet Earth. And again, this was like maybe 100,000 years ago, like a long, long time ago, right? And these Lemurian beings, which were different human species, they were human, but they're not, human what we look like. They did not look like us. They had a different they were a different human species, would say, but they were very, very advanced, and they were very psychically supreme, and they also had a very psychic and intuitive capacity that was very, very like Edgar Cayce sort of level. They could channel immensely. They were they have a large meditative mind, and they had a large creative capacity and innovation, and they also were they just had a lot of knowledge, a lot of philosophical knowledge, a moral, ethical, you name it. They had a lot of knowledge. They were very much teachers, but they were teachers of a different art. They taught like art of, you could say, shamanism in current language, which is basically star beings, right? People who can travel in their mind, right, even astral travel to these other dimensions and these off-worlds to gather knowledge, to come back to Earth to document that knowledge and to use that knowledge to help Earth. So that's kind of the larger foundation framework for what we really have today. When it came to even Atlantis, we talk about Atlantis as more of a patriarchal culture. Again, it had matriarchal influence, of course, but it was more patriarchal in the way it was focused on building warriors. It was focused very much like yogis and gurus. It was focused a lot on the Akashic record, and the focused on the physical, what it means to be physical, what it means to be sensual, sexual, what it means to build, right? Atlanteans were more known as builders. They like to build. As Lemurians were more so about connecting to art and philosophy, and more so living in nature, not necessarily building. So, but Atlantis did give us knowledge and blueprints and sort of designs that did influence what we have today. But again, our sort of understanding is still like pre-K when it comes to the actual level that we have been as a human species. And in the last catastrophe, we known as like the Ice Age, and we known as other catastrophe with some sort of major sort of great flood, I guess, that happened, that was not too long ago. We had to basically start over, and the human species, there's various human species on this planet. It's not, but we had to kind of restart again. So that's why we associate like cavemen as like our ancestors, right? Because we did have to start over, but we didn't really start over. We did start more primal, like more in connected to Earth. But again, there's other human species where they are like considered as star beings, right? They're considered like, that doesn't look like me, that's something else, because it is something else. But it doesn't necessarily mean that it's some far out ET. So becoming a star nation, we are going to start to see more interaction and collaboration with these star beings, ETs, what we know as, and they are coming and they're already here, and we are going to see integration of human 2.0, which is the next species of human intelligence, which is coming in, known as indigo children, light workers, indigos, star seeds, crystals, children. And these children are very much considered humanoids in the way that they are very much genetically influenced, not necessarily directly, could be, but genetically influenced by some of these star beings, star nations that are here to help human successfully navigate, balance out. And we need a generation of like a new like human 2.0 in order to balance out, because if we don't balance out, again, it's gonna cause just sort of it's just difficulties, and we're already going through a lot of difficulties. And this earth, once we get over this major sort of upheaval that we're going through right now, planet Earth is naturally, natively a very creative, artistic, compassionate, and naturally a very abundant, and it's actually a very beautiful place. It's very precious. It's actually very fertile, even with like special minerals, and just it's very, very special. It's like a gem in the whole universe. So we just have to balance out. So that's why these children are coming that have a different genetic code, and they also have a more energetic presence on this planet. And what I mean energetic presence is that they're very energetically their vibration is high, and they naturally have a very energetically high vibration. They're very energetic, they're very charged, they're very active intellectually, creatively, physically, emotionally. They're just very, very fine-tuned, and they're very tuned up, right? They're very tuned up, and that's why a lot of these children, they have a lot of like movement going on within them. Even their brain waves and these natures, it's very, very different. Their brain activity is very, very different, because they're very much working their mind power, their physical body, their physical power, as well as their energetic power at a different level, a higher level, a more refined level, a greater level. They're accessing a greater energy reserve than the other human species that basically we are today. And these beings, these humanoids or future beings, are considered like prodigies, highly creative, psychic, highly imaginative, very fast learners. They're considered very psychic, very aware, very mature, very emotionally sound, very compassionate. And they're here right now, and they're basically going to be the way showers, and they're very much going to be the primary human species eventually, after thousands of years. Right now they're secondary, not even secondary. They're basically, there's so few of them right now, but they will become primary. Eventually, we will have integrated, and they will become the primary human species on planet Earth in, you can say, thousands of years from now. But right now, you and I, we're basically cultivating. We're trying to be teachers. Right, so there's this great light worker energy, right? Light worker, basically, we're learning how to work our energy system. So everything to channeling, everything to being psychic, everything to healing, everything to sexuality, everything to, awakening your consciousness, all has to do with learning your energy. Learning your energy, everything has to do with learning your energy. So we are the front runners, and we have decided that we would like to learn our energy, because we're going to teach it. Because this medicine we have, and the way we relate to our body, we're not even including the actual energy of the body. We're just talking about the muscle, the tissue, and the chemical reaction and all of that. The adjustments that we're not talking about the actual energy of it. In connection to your psychomagnetic field, in connection to your electromagnetic field, and the whole sort of electrical circuits, as well as like the biophoton emission that is like your chi, we'll say. So we're learning that, because we're gonna teach that, right? We're gonna teach that. It's very much a Lumerian teaching, even Taoism in the form of art, right? Japanese art, Lao Tzu. I mean, that's feng shui, sort of Eastern. Think of like Asian sort of their foundation, right? When it comes to nature and being more naturalistic, is very much Lemurian, and we are going to be taking on a lot of those healing modalities, and we're going to teach them, and it's going to help us to really. It's going to really help us to find balance, right, in the technology age, because the way that we're doing things, even when it comes to medicine and this whole patriarchal legacy, it's not working, and we need to remodel and we need to renovate, and what we're going to do is bring in a human species 2.0 that is going to help us to basically expand. And these beings are very expansive. They speak, they talk, they're very expansive. They channel just in their talking, they're channeling. They're very psychic, they're very aware, they're very intuitive. They just know things. And people are like, how did you know? And they just do. Because they're a different sort of human species. It's not what we call better or worse. It's just a human species that's more connected to more part of a creative destiny. So a lot of these children, they don't want anything to do with these karmic, patriarchal, vengeful, discriminating, hateful, white supremacy. I mean, you name it. They want nothing to do with that karmic sort of entanglement of misery and suffering that a lot of people are still in when it comes to they're very much bound and kind of stuck in these low vibrational fields of revenge and these ancestral curses and all of that. They have no desire to participate in what we call the fate. They don't want to participate in fate, which is basically an ancestral curse, basically blocks you from soaring in life. Right? They don't want to. They're about creative destiny, which is about I have the energy within me to make my reality, and I'm going to focus on that. Any sort of ancestral curses or any of that, whatever that low energy, that stuck energy, that dysfunctional energy, right? Dysfunctional energy is going to be basically, it's going to be off-circuited, overrided by the created destiny of these children. So this dysfunctional usage of energy that creates all these sort of misery, suffering, all of this, bad choices, malnourished intelligence, that mayhem stuff, they're going to override that sort of fate through their creative destiny, through their dharma. So what really makes these children very unique is that they're very focused on dharma. They're very hyper active, hyper energetic, and hyper focused and concentrated and psychically aware and very powerful when it comes to their dharma knowledge, and their seeking of dharma, and they're hunting for dharma, and they're wanting to cultivate dharma, and this is what they want. And that's going to make, that's their sort of genetic code, is that they're here to birth a creative destiny and help us to get out of the fate of our ancestral curses and our low energy and energy dysfunction and energy stagnation and reincarnation repeating aimlessly because you're not listening to your intuition, right? We're getting out of that, right? No more of that, because that's not... People can do that, but vast majority of people on this planet are going to be want a creative destiny. The fate of my destiny, the fate of my ancestral curse, people are not buying that anymore. It doesn't work. People don't believe it anymore. They know it's not the only reality that's out there. They know there's a creative destiny, and a lot of them are becoming magicians. And they're really learning their energy so that they can manifest a door, a path, a window out and into their freedom, right? And there's a way. And a lot of these children already know, and they're already sort of, developing that Asatchic knowledge and that energy to really break through these blockages, break through a lot of these basically they're like warriors. There's a big resistance on this planet, but it's not large enough, right, to really block energy that is very, very creative, right? Creative energy is free, it's sovereign, it's accessible to anyone. And the more that these children cultivate it and become very much like masters of it, the more that we're going to see a lot of breakthrough when it comes to the removal of these, right, patriarchal leadership. And we're going to start to see more of a trends and inclusion and integration of these sort of what we call human 2.0, where it's not going to be targeted, attacked, and like it was in the past, where stoned and Mother Mary, Mary Magdalene are considered in their time as like witches. There's going to be no more of that, because the matriarchal lineages that are very mute, that a lot of them are atrophied and a lot of them are damaged. There's actually powerful matriarchal lineages on this planet, but they're damaged. So they're not functional right now, but they're going to become more functional as women start to come together and they start to rewrite history. They start to reevaluate history. They start to reevaluate and reform their parenting, their sort of, when it comes to religion, spirituality, economics, sociology, sociology, and culture. They're really going to start to reevaluate and reform what it means to be a part of a culture. And as a woman, we create culture. Men, not men, we create culture. When it came to music and the blues that created country for North America and U.S., it was very much women, right? A lot of these blues singers, these black blues singers, were singing to women. They were singing about women. They were singing as in to impress and to basically give reverence to the black woman. So women very much create these major cultures of spiritual empowerment, spiritual upliftment. So as women, since our matriarchal lineages are damaged, we are going to start to rebuild ourselves up from the spiritual level, because we have to be spiritually sound if we are to build in the external world, such as build facilities in like education or religion or other forms of structure. We have to be spiritually sound. We have to heal, right? We've been damaged as women. We've been shamed, targeted, attacked, exploited. We have to heal. So the focus of womanhood is about manifesting prosperity and creating a facility for safety, of healing, of community, of wellness. But it's also about healing internally and healing in the sort of the epigenetic accord with many generations, so that we can really clean up the generations and clean up the lineage, right? Because women, they create the lineage, not the man. It's the woman that really carries the lineage from men. You think that the child gets the man's last name, right? It's owned. The child is owned by the man, right? They may be so in the patriarchal age, but really it's a woman. She's the one that carries the lineage, right? It's through the woman. And that's why men, right, in the patriarchal age turn it around and they would pick women, right? They would put women, 10 of them in a line and say, I pick you because you are the strongest woman. And you're the one that will carry up the lineage to be strong, to be empowered. And any patriarchal man who wants to be a king knows he has to have an empowered woman, an empowered lineage to keep the wealth going, or eventually the wealth, somebody even more empowered will come in and it won't work. But in the natural rhythm is that women more so pick men. Right? Before that, it was interesting. Women would pick men, and that's kind of how it is in the bigger picture of Earth. Women pick men. Women pick men as who they are to mate, right? Mate with them, because a woman holds the gem. She's the creator, right? She is the procreation. She has the vessel in which life can be, right? So they say, out of Adam's rib came Eve. But again, in the matriarchal lens, out of Eve's womb came Adam, right? So in our sort of, our elite, right, our government official, politicians, they'd be completely like, no, right, completely attack that idea. But these sort of politicians that do that, they're not gonna stand in the future, because we need more inclusion and we need more well-roundedness, because we are very culturally ambiguous now. So we can't just be my way, the highway anymore, right? This is my perspective. I am the patriarchal lens. We can't do that anymore. We have to be more expanded. We have to be more inclusive of other cultures and other historical sort of lenses, so that we can be more balanced as a planet. So we as women are very much the ones, we've been greatly damaged. Any woman, black, white, Hispanic, Asian, we have been damaged. And we are still damaged, and we still have low self-worth, and we still feel the pain of the patriarchal age, and how as women we fear sex, right? Because of, a lot of us have sexual issues, and that's frustrating for us and frustrating for men, right? Because men have sexual issues. Again, we all have sexual issues right now on this planet, right? Men have sexual issues, women don't respect themselves, men don't respect women. It just keeps going back and forth, right? So we have a lot of sexual issues because we've had a lot of violation, and we don't have boundaries when it comes to sex, and discernment when it comes to sex. So that's why we're all sexually confused and sexually messed up, right? Sexually violated, right? And have all these sexual fears. And as women, we're really taking back our sexuality. We have basically since the 40s. And we're not being burned at the stick anymore for being sexually expressive and creative. Doesn't necessarily mean we're being seductive or succubuses. It just means that we are stepping into our creativity, right? Our higher creativity, our destiny. So as women, we're really going to be the way showers, really going to the feminine energy, either a man or a woman. It's going to be the creative energy, the creative wave, the way shower, the front runner, the guide, the teacher, that's really going to expand culture, ideology, religion, spirituality, everything. And it's really going to help us to get on a new path, right? Carve out a new identity for man and for women, because man ego is unruly, right? Very dissatisfied, very numbing, right? Man's ego is very numbing right now. So we have to carve out a new identity for man, right? And this is in the early stages, right? This is still happening, will happen for the next 500 years. And then woman's identity, she's also being carved out from oppressed, submissive, to now she's a leader, and now she actually she has a voice, right? And it's a credible voice, right? As women, we have to gain our credibility back, and that's going to take time. And the eyes are on us as women, right? That's why the pressure is so high for us as women, because we have to gain our credibility back, because we've been damaged, attacked, whatever, we've been down, right? So we have to build ourselves up, and how we do that is through being credible. So a lot of us from the 40s and 1940s to now, women have been slowly through the lineage gaining their credibility as a leader, as a teacher, as a guide, right? Through healing, right? When a woman is unhealed, she's not credible, right? When a woman is healed, she's powerful, right? She's very, very powerful when she's sexually healed, emotionally healed, mentally healed, psychologically healed, right? Because a woman, when she's healed, she's empowered, and she's in power, meaning she's not influenced by the negativity, right? She's neutralized. She knows how to neutral her life, right? So she's not, all over the place. So as us as women, we have a lot of emotional capacity more than men, because we have a bigger heart chakra, because we are the ones caretakers for life. So we have a bigger heart chakra. So that means we have a bigger emotional capacity than men. So we're very, very more psychic, more empathetic than men, just in our sort of sensory awareness. Right, so we have to develop this, right? We have to, because when it's underdeveloped, when it's atrophied, our big heart, our big emotions, our big empathy, it becomes a mess. We become imbalanced, we become confused, we become very overwhelmed, and we become very victim, right? We become a victim to our emotions, a victim to our big heart and our empathy, right? So we really have to develop our emotional body as women, particularly, because that's what's really going to help us to heal even our sexual trauma that we all have. If you're Asian, if you're Black, if you're Middle Eastern, it don't matter. A lot of us women have this in the bloodline. So you may not have been sexually violated, but I bet you somebody in your bloodline has. So, and probably might have been very aggressively. So we are healing through our emotional body, because our emotional body is one of the most powerful surges of energy a woman has. Very, very powerful woman's heart. The prayer of a woman is almost 10 times more powerful than of a man, right? Because women are very emotionally charged. Men are emotionally charged, but women are emotionally charged. So when you direct that emotion towards a prayer or towards a mantra or power activation, a woman's power, since she's so emotionally charged, can be extremely creatively miraculous for her children, for her economy, for her whole nation. So, but we're underdeveloped, we're atrophied. So that means we don't really know how to have control, right? We don't know how to manage our emotions. So we get overwhelmed, and then we collapse, and then we have a panic, right, with our emotional body as women, because we haven't worked that in a long time, right? And anybody who has worked it out has been a witch and burned at the staff. So unless you did it in the secret of your house, right, in little secret women groups, right? So this is what we're doing as women, because when we are healed, naturally our men start to heal, right? Whatever a woman is to herself is a lot of times how a man is to a woman, right? So if a woman into herself is belittling, you bet she will attract a man who's belittling her. If a woman to herself is if she has low self-worth and she allows people, if she doesn't have discernment, right, then you bet she will invite in violators, right? If a woman to herself, if she's respectful, if she really respects herself, a man will respect her. When a woman's not respectful to herself and really downgrades herself, right, really dumbs herself down in any way, shape, or form, you bet that's how a man will mirror that back to her. A man does mirror back what a woman is, right? And what men, they really want to be noble. Men don't want to be addicted to sex and addicted to all this egomania. Men don't want to be caught in that competition that basically destroys them at the end, right? In a very sort of just dishonorable, and a lot of times just very dissatisfying destruction of their selves. Men really want to mirror back. They want to mirror back a woman who's empowered. They want to be empowered men. They want to be honest. They want to have integrity, right? It's just men mirror back what a woman is, right? And a lot of us women, we have a lot of victimhood, we have a lot of anger, a lot of powerlessness, because we have been bred as women in the patriarchal age to see ourselves as like nothing, right? We're nothing special. We're just there as a vessel to bring in a man's legacy, right? So we are like, now we're all of a sudden we're supposed to be empowered, right? We have to be, and we're getting empowered. So we it's hard to come out of that rough patriarchal age when we were powerless and sex slaves, basically, right? We didn't really believe in ourselves as women. We didn't know ourselves. We didn't know our sexuality. We didn't know our emotions. We were just kind of caged in. Come from that to being respectful to ourselves. Like, that's a huge leap, right? So a lot of men are mirroring back the disrespect women have towards themselves, right? They don't have discernment or enough self-love, and men mirror that back, right? A woman, when she has a neutral identity, when she's healed, a man, he really reflects that back, right? And he starts to really step up as a protector and has a higher vibrational male, because there's nothing more fulfilling than to a man's ego than to really have to have a legacy or lineage that is very abundant and beautiful, right? Not just abundant and there's a bunch of terror around, right? I have all this gold chalices, but then there's all this terror around. That's not fulfilling for any man. Who wants to have, you're sitting on your throne and then there's just a bunch of, dead bodies out the window? Nobody wants that, right? Men, what they really want is they want abundance, right? They want to have abundance, but they also want to have beauty. Men want beauty, right? Not just, I have my throne and then I'm paranoid about the person that's going to come and kill me, right? In the medieval times. Men want beauty. They want, beauty is harmony. They want to be in harmony with themselves. And a lot of men, they have harmony through the woman, right? When a woman is emotionally disconnected and emotionally victim and emotionally just atrophied and completely charged up in a very negative way, you bet a man is going to basically mirror that back. And he's not going to rise up. He's not going to raise his vibration that way, right? But a woman, when she's emotionally charged up in a very neutral way, right, then a man is like, whoa, like he can really rise up and he can really become a higher vibrational male. Which is, again, a man wants to be abundant and he wants beauty. Beauty is about play. It's about fun. It's about safety. It's about you're abundant and you are safe doing it, right? Your ego is used to bring about abundance that also brings about emotional fulfillment. Not abundance, but then spiritually and emotionally, you're in a rut. That's very dissatisfying for a man, right? I have, my ego is saying this, that, and that, but when I look at my emotions and my spirit, I am stuck and I am not fed and I'm feeling really stark, right? That's such an emptiness for a man, right? When he's emotionally and spiritually like completely out, right? Completely gone, right? Empty, like soulless, right? We know a lot of patriarchal men who have been soulless and then still here. There's soulless people walking around. Spiritually, emotionally, they've been so stuck for so many decades, lifetimes, that they are completely ruled by their flesh, which is the hunger and survival and like, sort of like cavemen, like competing and like fighting over each other like animals, right? Men who are just flesh, or women really, we're just animals, right? So a lot of men are flesh, they're soulless. I'm talking about the masculine energy on this planet, not just men, masculine energy. So what's happening is that the energy is being directed towards the woman. It's like, here you go, here's a torch, here's a torch. The man is literally handing over the torch to women, because this world is changing, and the patriarchal age needs help. Religion, economically, spiritually, culturally, education, we need help. So the torch is being handed over to the matriarch, is being handed over, and not just handed over, but also shared. Like, the patriarchal is now asking the matriarch for help. Like, what's your advice? What's your opinion? How can I bring more balance to this home, right? Or to this company, or to this business, or whatever it is. They're literally asking the feminine energy for advice. Because, again, when a woman's empowered, and when she is getting and empowered, she is very rich. She's very rich, and this richness is not necessarily materialism. It's called richness of psychic knowing, right? And psychic knowing of Vedic tradition. These Vedic teachings, they came out of psychic knowing. They weren't just, something. It came from pure channeling. Edgar Cayce, pure channeling. A lot of these Vedic books and all these healing modalities and these sort of healing technologies were psychic knowing, right? So we're really needing that psychic knowing to really help us to move forward and to cultivate a higher level of energy, a creative destiny, so that we can really begin to have abundance, but also beauty. Not just we're building, but then it stinks outside. Who wants to be in a city where there's all these buildings, but then there's just trash everywhere? Nobody wants that. So we have to build, but we're also wanting beauty. We want beauty. We want beautiful minds. We want beautiful people, just beautiful energy. Also to be abundant. We want to have a facility, right? We want education. We want business. We want economy. But we want it to also be beautiful. Right? We want it to be harmonious, rhythmic. We want it to be soulful. We want it to have a level of dignity, right? Because economics, anything without dignity, religion, we know it just massively just fails. And the way that we look out and we just don't see beauty, right? We just see less spiritual and emotional fulfillment, and we just see more sort of dissatisfaction on this planet. So I think that this is the main download that I like to share with you guys. So I hope that this has helped you in any way, shape, or form.